In 1910, in June 1910, there was a farmer from out at Ashdale, and his name was Cameron.
Chisholm, was it?
Chisholm, Cameron Chisholm, yeah. And he was coming in town with his horse and wagon, just one horse, and he had the back loaded with his cans of milk, and he was taking them down to the creamery.
Yeah.
And his horse got spooked by passing Model Ts. Now, I would figure that by then, because Ralph Kirk car dated was 1909, or J.R. Kirk's and Ralph's father. And Dr. McDonald's was a real snappy little roadster. It was a $1,000 car when you could buy Model Ts for, $600 or $700. And it had the brass radiator in it, and it was convertible. That all the cars were back then, and he had it covered over so the two front seat occupants, when it was snowing or raining, would be protected. But if you sat in the back two seats, you were exposed to the elements. And the third was the eye doctor from Halifax. And anyway, Cameron was going down, and the horse got spooked by the passing Model T, and it took off at flank speed down the main street, and it actually tipped over right in front of Oak Manor, and the horse broke free of the wagon, so the horse wasn't hurt. And I would think that perhaps Cameron's dignity was hurt more than he was physically, but he was really incensed that these horseless carriages could bring about such trauma among the community. And he circulated a petition himself, and he got everybody he knew and a lot of people he didn't know to sign it. And if the county council was presented with a petition asking for a meeting signed by more than 50 ratepayers, they had to hold a meeting. So the meeting was held in early July. There were 11 members, and now we had 5 car owners instead of 3 because of the 2 that C.M. Henry, the druggist, had taken in. And they elected to go with Dr. McDonald, Dr. Huntley McDonald, to represent them because he was just loved by everybody. So they pitted the doctor against the 5 county councillors, and to no avail, because the county council passed a motion which was very similar to the one passed in Pictou County. From henceforth, in the county of Antigonish, cars could only proceed at the speed of 11 miles an hour, and they could only be used on the county roads 3 days. It was phased in a negative manner, that they couldn't be used on Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, Mondays, or Tuesdays. So they were allowed on Wednesdays, Thursdays, they were allowed on the roads Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And so back then, when you passed a motion, before it could become law, it had to be sent to Halifax to be approved by the government and council. So, but it meant that the car business did not develop in the next ensuing number of years. And in October 1912, we got a new bishop in Antigonish. His name was Morrison, and that's where we got the name of the Morrison School. And he came from PEI. This is October 1912. And my grandfather TJ's diaries, which you have in your possession, would reveal that on April 29th, TJ wrote in his diary that he had an appointment with Bishop Morrison, and that he spent the afternoon with him, gave him a driver's license, And the kicker was that it gave him the night to think it over. And so I would say that he was on a selling job that afternoon, and although he didn't say that. And the next day he went up to the bishop's palace and closed the deal. And the abbreviated driver's license or instructions must have been very abbreviated, because I don't think the bishop had a reputation ever for being a great driver. and to his credit, I had served him. I was brought up in Hillcrest Street, which is just the length of the block. And I used to go through the fields up to his place every morning and to serve Mass, and he never once ever mentioned that my namesake, TJ, had sold the first car that Eastern had ever sold. Wow. So the next day he sold McIsaac, who had the wholesaler's salon, and the next day, the last day of April, he sold my father, his son, a Model T Roadster, and he had a little note. I've never seen it, but this Antigonish had his first car dealer. And so that's where the car industry started in Antigonish. And that first year, Eastern, or it was called the Antigonish Garage Company for a couple of years, sold 11 machines, and a few years later, it was up to 376.